Hi, I'm Dr. Becca Height here with Johnson Animal Clinic to answer some questions for you about kittens.
All right, so Dr. Height, what is the most important thing to know about raising a healthy kitten?
I think the first thing to know is that kittens and cats are not always easy. People think of cats as like the easy pet to have versus a dog, and that's just not correct. So, as a kitten, you need to remember that they're nocturnal, that they're busy like puppies, and that they need to be socialized like puppies.
Okay. And then are there right and wrong ways to pick up my kitten?
Yeah, there are definitely right ways and wrong ways. It's really important at the beginning that your kitten learn to trust you and trust the kids in the house if there are. So you don't want to grab them gruffly. If an owner is going to do scruff holding, we need to really learn how to do that. And there's a lot of videos that can help you, or we can, to know that you're scruffing in the right way that won't harm the kitten. You don't ever want to hold them by the tail or by the feet. It's usually going to be a cradle kind of position, but if they're getting really upset, the scruff is a nice technique behind the neck. You just want to do it properly.
Okay. And then how can I tell if my kitten is happy and healthy?
So most kittens are happy and generally healthy. So the biggest thing is making sure they have lots of environmental stimulation. So lots of toys, different scratch surfaces. It's really important not just to have one incline. You want to have a flat one and an incline or a tree. Lots of stimulation with treats and toys and running to make sure they're happy, and then healthy, just making sure they get to the vet.
And then how should I feed my kitten?
So in general, cats are free feeders. We need to make sure that they are eating a cat specific diet. They do not do well and their heart has an issue if you feed dog food to a kitten. It's also important to feed kitten food to kittens so they gain the appropriate amount of weight. They have a lot of protein and a lot of fat in those foods.
What are some products I might need for my kitten?
So the first thing to do is get a carrier. There's a lot of good carriers out there now that are generally towards the fear-free end of things. And you really want them to be used to that carrier, get them toys, put their treats in there, and you just leave that carrier out so that they're used to it for months and months when they're going to go somewhere. I would also make sure if you don't want to keep them in the carrier at the very beginning of getting a kitten, that you have a dog crate. So you can fit the litter box in there, the cat bowls and all of that. So they have a small contained area to not go destroy your house.
Okay. And then how soon should I bring my new kitten to see the veterinarian?
So we're typically going to see them around 8 weeks to 9 weeks. If you find them sooner than that, which is often the case, we can do a physical and deworming and leukemia test as early as 6 weeks.
Okay. And then how can I get the most out of my first vet visit with my new kitten?
So really important just to know any questions you might want to ask. We'll ask you a ton of questions and give you a lot of advice on kitten play and socialization, desensitization techniques to help them understand how to be handled and do nail trims and all of those things. But just be prepared with any questions you have. If you have history on your kitten, that is always helpful. And we can show you how to do nails and all of those things as well.
Okay. And then what will the veterinarian look for during the initial kitten care visit?
So generally, we're just going to look at overall health. We're going to make sure we can tell you if it's a male or female cat. We always recommend bringing in a stool sample whenever you come, if it's possible, to make sure there's no parasites. But in general, we're going to do a feline leukemia and FIV test in-house to make sure that your kitten, if you have other cats, can be around them. We're going to check the fecal and send that off, and usually give you a sample of heartworm and flea medication, start the vaccines that day. So, and then we'll go ahead and do the nails for you and get them used to being handled.
Okay. And then what are some early signs and symptoms of health issues in my kitten?
So depending on the age of the kitten, super common things would be upper respiratory viral infections where their eyes are gunky and they're sneezing and snotty and kind of gross, especially if they came from a cattery or a shelter, some breeders as well. And that's an incredibly common problem to have, and we can usually treat that quite well. Also looking for skinny guys that might have some parasites. Really not as common to see leukemia positives, but we do see a few of those still. So those are the common things we're going to look for and make sure are okay.
Okay. And then why is it important to avoid self-diagnosing possible kitten health problems?
So In general, now that the internet is around, people do like to research, and that's usually okay. If you come with questions rather than a diagnosis, because there are lots of things you can Google and find the weirdest things, and it may be something super simple, especially like the upper respiratory things people read a lot about and start doing over-the-counter medicine. And over-the-counter things can be quite dangerous for cats. There's a lot of things that they just cannot tolerate, and plants and essential oils and all sorts of things that owners might have read incorrectly.
Okay, and then when should my kitten get vaccinations?
So I like to wait a little bit on kittens if we can, especially if they're indoor. But typically between the 6 and 9 week mark, 8 to 9 weeks is usually when I like to get them done, and we'll see them every 3 to 4 weeks until the 4 month mark.
Okay, and then last question, is there anything that I need to know about kitten behavior?
So I think a couple things are important with kittens, and we as a veterinarian group don't always say it as often as we need to, is you want to get them socialized with different people. Have the kitten carrier out there, if you have friends with dogs, just anything that in the future may change for you. If you might have kids one day, you just want them really immersed in those things so they're desensitized to them. We see a lot of cats that end up getting stress cystitis and urinating around the house later in life. And those are things that maybe if we had some building blocks at the beginning, we might have a little more improvement in their behavior long term.
Okay, and then if I have any questions regarding caring for my new kitten, who should I call?
Sure, just give us a call. It's 502-456-2870, or our website is johnsonanimalclinic.com.